Welcome to Soft Spoken Stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Now, enjoy the story. My name is Maya Chen, and I built my life on predictability. Spreadsheets for my freelance graphic design gigs, color-coded meal prep Sundays, and a meticulously curated 5-year plan that did not involve falling for a musician who smelled like old books and espresso, and whose idea of planning was deciding which vintage band tee to wear that morning. Especially not when I met on the perpetually late number 7 bus in downtown Seattle. Leo Rossi was chaos incarnate, wrapped in faded denim and a warmth that seeped into everything around him. That first encounter was pure, clattering Seattle serendipity. Rain lashed the bus windows, turning Pike Street into a blurry watercolor. I was wedged between a man loudly discussing cryptocurrency and a woman whose shopping bags threatened to engulf me. Stressed, late for a client meeting, clutching my tablet like a shield, I felt a gentle nudge against my shoulder. "Whoa, sorry. These corners are sharper than my guitar picks," a voice, rich and slightly amused, murmured near my ear. I turned, ready to unleash my frayed nerves, and met eyes the color of storm-brewed coffee, crinkled at the corners with an apology. He held a battered guitar case awkwardly, trying not to impale anyone. His dark, slightly too long hair was damp, clinging to his forehead. Something about the genuine contrition in his smile disarmed me instantly. "No harm done," I managed, my usual sharp retort dissolving. "Just trying not to become part of the upholstery." He laughed, a warm, resonant sound that cut through the bus's grumble. "Mission critical." "Leo," he said, shifting his case again to offer a hand, then thinking better of it, gesturing with his chin instead. "Bus warrior, aspiring troubadour, occasional menace to upholstery." "Maya," I replied, a reluctant smile tugging at my lips. "Freelance designer, planner, upholstery preservationist." That 10-minute bus ride became the first thread. We talked about the ridiculousness of Seattle traffic, the best hole-in-the-wall coffee spots. He swore by a tiny place in Belltown I'd never heard of. I championed my local roastery with the perfect oat milk latte, and the shared misery of damp socks. When he got off 2 stops before me, flashing that disarming grin and a wave, I felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. Ridiculous. He was a charming stranger on a bus. Fate, however, seemed to be riding the number 7 that week. We kept bumping into each other. At the farmer's market near Pioneer Square, where he was buying absurdly large sunflowers, they look happy, don't they? At the library downtown, where I was researching design trends and he was buried in a book of Celtic folk ballads. Then, one rainy Thursday evening, soaking wet after missing my usual bus, I ducked into a cozy, dimly lit bar on Capitol Hill called the Velvet Raccoon. The sound of an acoustic guitar and that voice, warm honey poured over gravel, stopped me in my tracks. There he was, Leo, on a small stage tucked in the corner. Not just strumming, but telling stories with his music. His eyes were closed, lost in the melody of a song about lost keys and found moments. He sang of rain on window panes and the quiet courage of starting over. It was raw, beautiful, and completely unexpected. My meticulously planned world tilted. He spotted me during his break, weaving through the small crowd with that easy grace. "Maya, the upholstery guardian. Fancy meeting you in the wild." His smile was brighter than the stage lights. "You're really good," I said, the understatement making him chuckle. "Thanks. Pays in beer and existential dread, mostly. Can I get you a drink? Shelter from the storm?" He gestured towards the bar. That drink turned into 2. We talked for hours. I learned about his nomadic childhood as an army brat, his deep love for Seattle's grungy soul, his dream of recording an album of original songs. He learned about my immigrant parents' expectations, my love-hate relationship with deadlines, and my secret passion for painting abstract cityscapes I never showed anyone. He listened with an intensity that made me feel truly seen, not just heard. When he gently touched my forearm to emphasize a point about the beauty of imperfection in old buildings, a spark traveled up my arm, warm and startling. That touch became a language. Walking me to the bus stop later, insisting, despite my protests, his hand rested lightly on the small of my back as we navigated a puddle-strewn sidewalk. It wasn't possessive, just steadying. Protective. A silent "I'm here." Standing under the awning waiting for my bus, the rain drumming a rhythm around us, the air crackled. He looked down at me, rainwater glistening in his hair, his expression soft. "Tonight was nice, Maya. Unexpectedly nice." His voice was low, intimate in the semi-darkness. "It was," I breathed, my heart hammering against my ribs. He leaned in slowly, giving me ample time to pull away. His lips brushed my forehead, a whisper of contact, soft and achingly tender. It was a kiss that spoke of respect, of a connection still unfolding, of pure, gentle affection. It sent a wave of warmth cascading through me, melting the residual chill from the rain. My bus arrived, its lights cutting through the downpour. "See you on the 7?" he asked, stepping back, his eyes holding mine. "Probably," I smiled, the word feeling like a promise. And so it began. The chaotic musician and the meticulous designer. Our dates were a collision of worlds. He dragged me to underground open mic nights in the industrial depths of Sodo, the air thick with creativity and cheap beer. I'd take him to sleek art galleries in Belltown, pointing out design elements he'd never noticed. We'd wander through the misty expanse of Discovery Park, hand in hand, the silence comfortable, punctuated only by the cry of gulls and the distant ferry horns. The physical connection deepened naturally, always within that realm of tender intimacy. Sitting side by side on a bench overlooking Elliott Bay, sharing lukewarm coffee, his arm would settle around my shoulders, pulling me close against the breeze coming off the water. He absently traced patterns on my knuckles with his thumb while lost in thought, a gesture so casual yet profoundly comforting. Watching a movie at my tiny apartment, my head would find its way to his shoulder, his chin resting lightly on my hair. He'd press soft kisses onto my temple, his breath warm against my skin, during quiet moments, reading together, or simply gazing out at the city lights from my window. One Saturday, feeling brave, I showed him my paintings. Not the client work, but my personal pieces, chaotic splashes of color representing the Seattle skyline at dusk, moody abstracts of rain-slicked streets. I'd stacked them against the wall in my living room corner, my hidden vulnerability. My hands trembled slightly as I unveiled them. Leo didn't say anything at first. He walked slowly along the row, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched, agonizing. Too messy. Too amateurish. Too much. Then, he stopped before a particularly turbulent piece, all deep blues and angry slashes of gray and silver, titled Pike Street Rush Hour. He reached out, his fingers hovering just above the canvas, not touching, tracing the energy of the brushstrokes in the air. Then he turned to me, his eyes shimmering. "Maya," he breathed, his voice thick with emotion. This is incredible. It's noise, but it's beautiful noise. It feels like the city's heartbeat." He closed the distance between us in 2 strides, pulling me into a tight, enveloping hug. He buried his face in my hair, his arms strong and secure around me. "You see it," he murmured against my scalp. "You see the soul in the chaos." He pulled back slightly, cupping my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized had fallen. He leaned in and kissed me, softly, slowly, on the lips. It wasn't fiery or demanding, it was a profound kiss of understanding, acceptance, and shared vision. A silent conversation where words failed. My arms wound around his waist, holding him close, feeling the solid reality of him, the anchor in my suddenly swirling emotions. We stood like that for a long time, wrapped in the quiet aftermath of shared vulnerability, the only sound our mingled breaths and the distant city hum. But life, especially life intertwined with someone like Leo, isn't a smooth melody. My freelance work hit a dry spell, igniting my deep-seated fear of instability. Simultaneously, Leo got offered a 2-month gig touring with a slightly bigger band along the West Coast, a huge opportunity, but one that terrified me. The thought of him leaving, of the silence in my apartment, of the empty space on the bus, felt like a physical ache. My fear manifested as withdrawal. I buried myself in job applications and fruitless networking, building walls with spreadsheets and unanswered texts. Leo sensed the shift. He didn't push, but his touches became more deliberate, more anchoring. Coming over after a late rehearsal, he'd find me hunched over my laptop, shoulders tense. He wouldn't speak, just stand behind me, his hands resting gently on my shoulders, his thumbs applying soft, circular pressure to the knots of tension. He'd drop a kiss on the crown of my head, a silent benediction. One evening, after a particularly frustrating day, I snapped at him over something trivial, the mess of his guitar picks on my coffee table. He didn't snap back. He just looked at me, his expression patient, sad. He walked over, took my hand, his touch warm and grounding, and led me to the couch. He sat down, pulling me gently to sit beside him, not letting go of my hand. He traced the lines of my palm with his fingertip, a featherlight touch that sent shivers up my arm. "Talk to me, Maya," he said softly, his voice a low rumble. "The real stuff. The scary stuff. The dam broke." I poured out my fears, the financial worries, the terror of him leaving and not coming back, the feeling of my carefully constructed world crumbling. He listened, his gaze never leaving my face, his thumb still stroking my hand. When my words dissolved into shaky breaths, he pulled me into his lap, wrapping his arms tightly around me, holding me as if I were the most precious, fragile thing. My face pressed against the soft cotton of his shirt, smelling of wood smoke and his unique Leo scent. He rocked me gently, his chin resting on my head, his embrace a fortress against the world. "I'm scared too," he admitted, his voice vibrating against me. "Scared of missing you every single day. Scared this opportunity might vanish." "But Maya," he pulled back slightly, tilting my chin up so our eyes met. His were earnest, intense. "Running towards something doesn't mean running from you. It means I want to build something with you. Something real. Something that can handle a few weeks apart. You're my anchor, not my cage." He leaned in, kissing away the tear tracks on my cheeks, his lips soft and infinitely tender. Then he kissed my lips, slowly, deeply, pouring every ounce of his promise, his fear, and his unwavering belief in us into it. It was a kiss that rebuilt my crumbling walls with something stronger, trust. The day he left was gray, typical Seattle drizzle. We stood outside the bus station, the air thick with unspoken words and the scent of wet pavement and diesel. Suitcase at his feet, guitar case slung over his shoulder, Leo looked both excited and heart-wrenchingly sad. We talked logistics, made plans for calls, promised texts. Now, there was just the goodbye. He pulled me into a hug that lifted me slightly off my feet, crushing me against him. It wasn't gentle, it was fierce, possessive, a silent scream against the separation. His arms locked around my back, mine around his neck, holding on as if we could stop time. I could feel the rapid beat of his heart against mine. He buried his face in the curve of my neck, his breath warm. 2 months, he murmured, his voice rough. 60 days. I'll count every hour. He set me down but didn't let go. Cradling my face in his hands, his thumbs stroking my cheeks, he looked into my eyes, memorizing me. Be brilliant, Maya Chin. Paint your city. Conquer your spreadsheets. And miss me, he added with a shaky grin. Then he kissed me. It was a kiss filled with longing, a promise, and the bittersweet ache of temporary parting. Deep, lingering, yet utterly respectful, pouring all the love words couldn't fully express. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, my lips tingling, he pressed one last, lingering kiss to my forehead. I love you, he whispered, the words hanging in the damp air, simple and monumental. I love you, Leo Rossi, I whispered back, my voice thick. He picked up his suitcase, shouldered his guitar, and with one last, long look, walked towards the departing bus. He turned just before boarding, raised his hand in a wave, that familiar, heart-stopping smile breaking through the sadness. Then he was gone. The 2 months were a test. There were moments of crushing loneliness, moments where my old fears whispered doubts. But there were also late-night video calls filled with his terrible tour bus jokes and snippets of new songs written about rain and longing. Care packages arrived, a ridiculous neon pink beanie from Portland, so you won't lose me in a crowd, a postcard from San Francisco with a doodle of the Golden Gate Bridge and the words "Wish you were the fog holding me up." And always, his texts, saw a mural that screamed "Amiwaye, played our song tonight. Crowd loved it. Missed you, just saw the sunset over the ocean. You'd paint it better." He flew back on a crisp, unexpectedly sunny Seattle afternoon. I waited at the arrivals gate, nerves fluttering like trapped birds. And then I saw him, scanning the crowd, looking tired but radiant, his eyes lighting up like beacons when they found mine. He dropped his guitar case and suitcase right there and ran. Not walked. Ran. People parted around him as he closed the distance. He didn't stop until he swept me up into an embrace so tight it stole my breath, spinning me around once. He buried his face in my hair, inhaling deeply, his arms like steel bands around me. He was trembling slightly. "Home," he breathed, the single word vibrating against my skin. "You smell like home." He set me down but didn't loosen his hold. His hands framed my face, his eyes drinking me in, full of wonder and relief. Then his lips were on mine, a kiss that started soft, a rediscovery, then deepened, pouring out 2 months of missing, 2 months of love, 2 months of holding on to this moment. It was passionate, affirming, yet still held that core of profound tenderness, a homecoming expressed in every point of contact. When we finally broke apart, foreheads resting together, breathing the same air, the bustling airport faded away. It was just us. The planner and the musician. The anchor and the sail. Finding our unexpected, perfect harmony in the rain-soaked, coffee-scented, beautifully chaotic heart of Seattle. He laced his fingers through mine, his thumb stroking the back of my hand, that familiar, grounding touch. "Let's go home," he said, his voice rough with emotion, picking up his guitar. "I have a new song to play you. It starts with the sound of rain on a bus window." And as we walked out into the Seattle afternoon, hand in hand, the city humming around us, I knew. My 5-year plan was officially obsolete. The best things, the most real things, weren't found in spreadsheets. They were found in the gentle press of lips on a rain-dampened forehead, the secure circle of arms that held you through storms, the shared heartbeat in a quiet apartment, and the unexpected, beautiful harmony created when 2 very different souls chose to play the same song. Together. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.